Hello! Today I'm going to be drawing my life. It's an old concept, but I thought I'd give it a try anyway. Please excuse the Microsoft Paint. I've not made it out of the hood yet. So, let's go back to the very beginning. In 2003, my dad and my mum and 9 months later, on the 30th of April 2004, Travis Scott turned 13 years old. I was also born on that day as well. Me, my mum, and my dad lived happily in an undisclosed location. My memory's kind of foggy of my early life, but I'm going off what I did know. But 3 years after my legendary birth, my brother Sam was born. On my birthday. To be honest, I kind of wasn't aware of him until a few weeks later because he stuck around more than people usually do at the house, so I realized at that point that he was in fact here to stay. But unrelated to my brother coming into our lives, my parents divorced soon after. To be honest, I probably had no clue what was going on, but the next thing I knew is that me and Sam started getting 2 birthdays and 2 Christmases every year. After moving house for the first time, I started gaining a little bit of memory, so I assume that's when I gained my consciousness. School was probably about as average for me as it was for everyone else, so I won't go too in depth. But eventually when I was 4, I started big school with a whopping 200 kids total. I do remember a few memories from this school, one of which was me being confused because a teacher called my name and asked to get my star card so she could give me points, only to find out that she wasn't actually talking to me, but actually another kid named Luke. She ended up shouting at me for the confusion. But I also did fall asleep while that same teacher was teaching once, and my mum had to come in and wake me up. Another fond memory in that school that I had was in PE. I climbed a rope to the top of the ceiling, and I didn't know how to get down, so I just let go. That's not actually one I remember, but that's one that my mum's told me many times. If that is true, then that may be a good explanation to many things that happened down the line. Anyway though, as I was gaining more personality, I also gained some interests, some of which were dancing and acting. I always loved putting on shows when I was a kid. I'd force my mum to watch and video it, and sometimes I'd let my brother be in it too. Yes, I have the videos, and no, they will not be shown for a long time. But I did do acting classes for about 4 years, starting at the age of about 5 or 6, alongside karate, which I didn't take as keen to. Anyway, 3 years after my first school, I joined an even bigger school, where I became friends with a lot of new people, a few of which are my best friends today. At that time, I gained a huge interest for technology, computers, sound and video equipment, and music. When it came to computers, I was always a quick learner, and I always had teachers come to me with their technical issues. However, I wasn't a big gamer, which could be seen as weird. The only console I really had growing up was the family's Nintendo Wii, which me and my brother loved to play on nearly every day. We used to love the Lego Indiana Jones or Star Wars games, or the classic Wii Sports, although my brother nearly broke the TV playing it. But while me and my brother were busy playing the Wii, my mum was also getting busy once again, and Charlotte joined us in 2012. As I wasn't conscious enough to be there for Sam, I was delighted to be more present for Charlotte. Thankfully though, I'm very glad that my mum learned self-control and stopped at 3. Although I wasn't a big video game fan, I was a huge fan of a British TV show called Doctor Who. I was specifically a big fan of the 11th incarnation, Matt Smith, and the 11th Doctor became my entire personality, no joke, for over a year. But a little later on, there was someone who became much more important to me than Matt Smith ever was. I became best friends with a guy called Henry. Henry and I clicked so well because he introduced me to filmmaking, which we both enjoyed. We made some mini action films, football videos, and even some karaoke, and those were the first videos I would have ever edited. He later introduced me to Vine, and Daz Black, who's now a popular British YouTuber, was the Viner that we loved the most. And this inspired me to make small comedy sketches and post them to Instagram. But I was soon humbled very swiftly, as I got my account suspended for being 11 years old. But that never stopped me, and as my obsession for Vine and also YouTube videos grew, so did my fondness for DJing, which was still pretty foreign for me. Later that same year, my interest for technology and music also grew too, and I operated both sound and lighting for a school show that my year group hosted. And for an 11-year-old kid, I must say I wasn't that bad. And shortly after that, I even DJ'd at my own Year 6 leavers party. Bear in mind, I do use the term DJ very loosely back then because it was literally just me with a laptop and an LED light. But that didn't matter to me, or anyone else apparently, they all enjoyed it. But after leaving my first big school, it meant that most people would have to be split up, and I wouldn't see them very often again. So did I cry hysterically that night? Yes. Yes, I did. But I started my very last school a couple months after that, and this one was huge. I was even blown away by the fact that the school had an upstairs. But I started to figure things out for myself. You'd always catch me on my own walking around the school with a map in my hand. But eventually I made some new friends, one of which was a big Doctor Who fan, so we were best friends for a short while. But secondary school had its ups and downs throughout the years, and a few short-term girlfriends too that I thought tore my heart apart. Man, life was easy. But in my second year of secondary school, I began a new YouTube channel named the LRB. I made a shitty logo on PowerPoint and called it a day. And I used to post the wackiest content, from Pokemon Go, angry granny run let's plays, to prank calling my friends. And I actually did discover last night that I do have all of those videos and even the raw footage of them too. But again, you will not be seeing that for a very, very long time. But because school kept taking over and I lost my passion, and because of my lack of video ideas, I gave up. And this happened multiple times across 4 years. That was until a little game called Fortnite came around. And to say I was obsessed was an understatement. I would remember leaving my short-term girlfriend early just to go home to play Season 5. Even during school, I used to look on Twitter and repost the patch notes for the game, and even make videos on them when I got home. But while that was all going on, I started to gain a little more recognition as a DJ, and I even played my first wedding in 2018. I was only 14 years old. Anyways, over the years, I learned a lot. I mean, I don't have a lot to show for it, as I only passed 4 GCSEs, but that's not the point. But after a lot of gaining and losing friends, falling asleep in lessons, trying to keep up with my interests and passions, and some YouTube diss tracks, little did I know that a dumpster fire called COVID-19 would be just around the corner to end my school experience early. Just like everybody else, we were all stuck inside for a long while, which left me with nothing to do except stream Fortnite for 8 hours a day, DJ to myself for no reason, and get into my first real relationship, which was definitely something to say the least. I turned 16 during lockdown, and a few months later, I had my first proper girlfriend. We were basically inseparable, and despite lockdown, we'd try and spend as much time together as we could. But let's just say things didn't work out very well, and since it was my very first heartbreak, it hurt quite a bit. But in the years that followed, I learned there was a lot more to life than women. Okay, I lied. I did have another girlfriend for about 6 months. But after that, I gave up. Anyway, let's go back to lockdown. During the very famous COVID-19 lockdown, like many people, I was slowly losing my mind. Sometimes, admittedly, my head did go to some dark places, because this isn't how I envisioned my life to be. I missed all my friends, I actually wanted to go back to school, I was also going to miss the school prom, and I didn't know when this was all going to be over. But as things were slowly easing off in September 2020, I started my new college course. I decided to take up a level 3 media production course for 2 years, and I made some good memories and some great friends during that time. And since we were starting to be allowed to go outside again, I didn't feel as insane as before. But during my college experience, I made some really cool things that I was proud of, 2 of which being a documentary and a short film. But once college was over, I decided to hop straight into a personal project. Of course, I love DJing, but I also love a challenge. So I decided that I'd do a homemade music festival for me and my friends. And it was really fun. And as much as the turnout wasn't insanely crazy, it was fun to make, and it was something that I'd love to do again. But that was a really nice way to spend my summer. And shortly after that, I was given the news that I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD, after me and my mum just thought that I had dyslexia. But autism also makes sense. And from here, it gets pretty recent. I moved house again with my family just before Christmas in 2022. I started my content creation career in 2023. And the rest you probably already know. And in a nutshell, those are kind of the highlights of my life so far. I probably may have missed something important, but I do that sometimes. But that's pretty much it. So, yeah, I'll see you next time. Subscribe or something.